channel where the dough don't rise. Broken Baker's here with the sarcastic eyes. From Danish pastries to courtroom crime, where the spelling's a mess, but the humor's prime. Pro se defendants taking the stand, with wine moms laughing, glass in hand. Mods like Marissa and Valhalla too. Irish and whiskey keep the chat in view. It's trial tribulations with a sprinkle of wit. Chats popping off, yeah, they never quit. Jamie's got the deals and the beauty hacks. Dollar store glam keeping us on track. So come for the crime, stay for the snark. Broken Baker's baking up a legal spark. Mo hops in with spicy takes. Jemima's got the docs, Farrell brings the shakes. Brandon keeps it wild, Iron Rabbit keeps it chill. Together they're the dream team, streaming the thrill. With courtroom chaos and dry witty flair, we're roasting defendants, cause life's not fair. Grab your wine, your snacks, and settle in. Chat's the real star, let the fun begin. It's trials, tribulations with a sprinkle of wit. Chats popping off, yeah, they never quit. Jamie's got the deals and the beauty hacks. Dollar store glam keeping us on track. So come for the crime, stay for the snark. Broken Baker's baking up a legal spark. Broken Baker streaming, so don't you miss, where courtrooms and sarcasm meet Danish bliss. Mods and chat, we're keeping it clever. True crime and dry humor now and forever.
Welcome back to this this day of stupidity. This day where Hank Brennan now wants to use science that Lally said is bunk science, that Brandy Churchwell's interview with Dr. Walsh is now part of the trial. Maybe is Brandy gonna be called as a witness, because he was on her show saying it isn't consistent with dog bites. He also said it's not consistent with a car strike, but maybe Brennan didn't watch that part. I'm wondering who does his investigations. Is it Kate Peters maybe? Because this is Plevin kinds of stupid, what we were just watching for almost 4 hours. It wouldn't mean anything if they had a mold of Chloe's teeth, because Chloe's teeth isn't the same today as they were 4 years ago now. You can't extrapolate anything because you have a photo, you don't have the measurements of the injuries. We have a lady with 30 years plus of experience being told by a slick guy in an expensive suit that she doesn't understand what she's talking about, because she uses the standard that they use in her field, the medical field, asking her if she has a biomechanical engineer degree. Did any of your witnesses have that? Hopefully the new expert you hired has these skills. You have the same guy trying to discredit the ARCA guys because you can't really get into where they were employed. I really don't hope that Alessi is going to spend the 2 hours he talked about disproving it. You don't have to go into every single thing. You should wrap this up very fast and show Bev there's no other action for her to take than allow Dr. Russell to testify in this case. This is only a money drain from the free Karen Reed support defense fund. This is all it is. It's just more money she has to waste. And he's trying to do the same with the ARCA guys. The ARCA guys are working for some of the, well, probably they're working for the Fed, so maybe not the best institutes in America, but they are constantly in courtrooms testifying about stuff. They have all the skills needed. This is, I'm not a lawyer. I can say whatever I want because I don't know anything about it, so nothing is legal advice, nothing has any bearing in anything other than my opinion. But to me, it seems like they are trying to take away her constitutional rights for a defense, which should be very troubling to anyone. But I have good news. Kate Peters has joined the Free Karen Read movement because Kate Peters now believes what the Fed said, because one of the Fed said it wasn't a dog bite. And if she buys that one, she'll also have to buy. Levy said, we don't see the case in the same way Morrissey did. And the ARCA guys hired by the Fed said, no car impact. So welcome, Kate Peters. Probably better for you to be on our side. You don't have to drink as much. If you're lucky, maybe you can get your kids back someday. Maybe you can get out of all the legal trouble you're in. Kate Peters also shared what she claimed was said during a sidebar. Pretty sure sidebars are off the record and it's not to be shared online. But she claims she has a source in court that said something about Bev yelling at the defense. But we know it's Canton. Kate Peters can do whatever she will because allegedly maybe there's some contacts between her and Tully. So I don't know why. I have this really big wish to take two of these fingers down and just do this as at Mr. Brennan. Greenland payment, don't build any tall windmills or they might intercept an ICBM, aka a bird, which doesn't exist. As I've stated before, if you want it, take it. We spend $4 billion a year to keep those 50,000 people running. It's a country where don't look up statistics for kids born after, I believe it's 1995. Hello. What's happening with my camera? Is it going on the fridge? Maybe I need a new camera for my birthday. But don't look up kids who have been subjected to these in the household or that in the household. You would be horrified to see what the reality is in Greenland. But we would save $4 billion a year. You can't take a dental mold. No. Or from spring rolls. No, you can't do that. You'll be under our jurisdiction shortly. I live quite far away from Greenland. But I did say if I made that $1 million, I was promised off the Sarah Boone case that I would move to America. So you're welcome. Now the Commonwealth want the ARCA expert. Yeah. Based on that, their employment history would be too hard to get into. No, you just don't want them to mention that they work for the feds. Hey, Tash. You'll keep Canada. I heard that's on the table as well. Explain the Kate Peters thing again. Because Kate Peters heard that an expert from the Fed said it's not a dog bite. She now believes the Feds. And that's why I'm saying, well, then the logical conclusion must be she also believes the ARCA guys because we can trust the Feds. You remember Kate Peters is one of those people like Plevin who has claimed that the Feds are working together with Yannetti and it's all a setup. But if she believes one of them, she must believe the other one. So welcome, Kate Peters. As soon as we get your day drinking and other problems under wraps, we might get somewhere. Are you drunk? Well, you might be. I'm making a roux. Is that a sauce or something? Hey, garlic creamer. Rumor has it there's an offer for Greenland on the table too. Well, our prime minister just went out and said, well, the only people who can decide is the Greenlandic people. Only problem that is Greenland has no economy. They have no healthcare. They have no court system. They have no police. They have a barely functioning infrastructure. The only thing that America wants it for is to have an early warning system for the ICBMs. Let's guess we are going to allow you to expand the Thule base or something like that. It's going to be fine. I don't. Trump is a big saber rattler, and he said it the last time as well. And everyone goes up and he's crazy and blah 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 blah. He's just wanting the Danish military to invest more in the North Atlantics. And to be fair, we haven't done it in a lot of years because our frigates that was supposed to deter the Ruskies up there didn't even have any weapons on them because we forgot we didn't have the money to put that on it because the military, even though they get more and more money, it just disappears. No one really knows where, and so we don't have the capabilities to protect Greenland. But now we have made a subcommittee where no one with military experience is a part of, so they will fix the military. Yes. She doesn't look at any facts. She's just anything Aiden said, she just goes the opposite way. You can come fold my laundry as well. Yeah, I think it's a fancy word for gravy. They have seals, yeah, and ice bears. And China tried to take over Greenland maybe 10, 15 years ago because there were some signs that there might be below the ice cape up there that there might be a lot of valuable minerals and stuff like that. The only problem is it's a couple of kilometers deep, so it's not something you'll easily extract. And the market will, of course, always make sure that if people are drilling or not drilling, but if it's easier to drill somewhere in Africa, they don't want to waste the money removing a kilometer of ice. A kilometer of ice is roughly 2 boatloads of banana pie in American numbers. Yeah, but it's not. It's you can't. It'll cost you more to get it out than to. Yeah, it'll cost. You won't make your money back. And again, he's just saber rattling to make us up our money for the defense. We are here for politics. You know, this is a politics channel. I don't know. Do the seals wear bow ties? No, but they are hunted by the icebergs. The cool thing about ice bears are they hide their nose when they're hunting, so you can't see because that's the only little. Well, they have their eyes as well, but they have the black nose, so they hunt like this. And technically, Ice bears' fur is invisible. You didn't know that. You thought it was white, but it's the shine from the ice. I had a buddy tell me that once, and I said, "Then how come the iceberg's fur is still white when it's killed?" He didn't have an answer for that, but we laughed and we laughed. Roux is a thickening agent made by cooking equal parts flour and fat together. Oh, so that's a flour ball, is what we call that in Denmark. Yes, ice bears, polar bears. Sorry, 5% anti-up. Well, they are not that cute. They are horrible killing machines that everyone thinks that, oh, I saw a Coca-Cola commercial. They are one of the few species on the planet who will hunt people for food. They are not scared of anyone up there. I blame Rose. She wanted out of her relationships. That's why. Isbjørn. Yep. Forgot I moonlighted for National Geographic. Well, I'm trying to. This YouTube thing isn't really working out for me. So I'm trying to grift some new material. Bears on a Budget will be mine and Jamie's new show. They're almost as vicious as wombats. Yeah. Have you go Google ice bears and or polar bears and see how they look when they catch a seal? Caught late, and we only have till 4. Tick tock, tick tock. My boy is Bjørn. Well, Torbjørn, but he prefers Bjørn. Well, that's a common name because it's two signs of strength: Thor and a bear. Mm. Hey, this YouTube deal isn't making me a millionaire, so if I want to buy that plot of land next to Valhalla, I need to get some more grifting going. Then polar bears, because they live on the opposite side of the world, South and North Pole. But sea lions and orcas eat penguins. Oh, good old Wotan. I knew a guy named Buster who got his hand bit off by a seal. I didn't think seals are that vicious. Just to show you I'm not withholding. Go Wombats watched 3,000 Miles to Graceland last night. Never watched that one. Because they can't get the wrappers off. Oh, because penguins are... That's like a milkschnitte. Yeah, that's like an ice cream thingy. Let's look at property price. Well, Diva said I could get a part of her land. Yeah. I remember when there was all this outcry about clubbing baby seals. That wasn't a good thing. Have you seen those big monsters? They apparently they get if they are in heat, they can get really aggressive. What's the movie Tusk? Is it about the former Polish PM? I think he was. Walrus. I don't know. No, sea lions is the walrus is the one with the teeth. And the sea lion is the one that looks kind of like a seal, just much bigger, right? Or am I mixing them up? I don't know what you call them in your weird language. I'm still working out the fine print with the National Geographic. But I think it's cool that Brandy Churchwell now, we know Recovery Addict has been a part of a trial. Now Brandy Churchwell can be part of a trial. That's cool. Yeah, elephants and musk.
Really?
Why?
What?
Because the pathognomonic features mean that you have the entity or the condition that that is explained.
Does pathognomonic mean that the features themselves rule out other possibilities?
Yes, that's what I believe it means.
And is that how you interpret what the author is saying in this article?
Yes.
Please proceed lastly to
The Dr. Walsh that was mentioned by Brennan, who said it's not a dog bite, was on Brandy's channel and not testified, but said he didn't feel it was consistent with a dog bite. But he also said it wasn't consistent with a pedestrian strike by a car.
the next 2 paragraphs, and then we can.
No, but I need to move as well, and I need to buy stuff. So $500,000 to buy the house, $500,000 to get I need a Dodge Ram as well, and some beer for Valhalla. $1 million goes fast when he's on the beer budget.
And move on to the next study, I believe.
In conclusion, to identify a lesion as a dog bite wound, it should have ragged and irregular wound edges, show multiple parallel linear scratches or drying scuff abrasions, include a puncture wound and sometimes an avulsion with irregular borders resembling a dental arch print.
And could you please, as the last paragraph we'll focus on, read what you consider important in the next paragraph?
The shape of dog bite wounds depends on the size and breed of the dog and will differ whether or not the full dentition was used to produce them.
Let's stop there. What does it mean to you when the author says, and will differ whether or not the full dentition was used to produce them?
So what that means is that if the bite does not include the full, well, let me back up. What it means is the appearance of the bite will vary depending on whether or not all of the teeth impacted the skin or just some of the teeth impacted the skin.
Please read the next sentence.
Only in ideal circumstances will a complete impression of all frontal teeth be found, and often only a prominent canine impression can be seen.
Is what you just read relevant at all to what you analyzed with regard to the wounds of the decedent in this case?
Very relevant.
How?
Because many of those wounds on Mr. O'Keefe's arm were only partial bites. They did not have the complete dentition.
Do you recall Mr. Brennan saying various times that you have no support for your pattern recognition methodology?
Yes.
Is this support for your pattern recognition methodology?
Yes.
Is it direct support for the pattern recognition methodology you have applied in this case?
Yes.
Is there another article? You mentioned 2, you mentioned Demunic and Pollock. So let's turn to, and Your Honor, this will be the second and last article.
Okay.
Please turn to Exhibit 34. And is this the Pollock, P-O-L-L-A-K, study that you have mentioned multiple times in your testimony and that's in your report.
Yes.
Please, like we just did with the Munich article, please identify the portions of this study that support, you've testified, support your pattern recognition methodology.
Okay.
And let's
Well,
do
start in the
a
beginning.
seriatim from the beginning. Yes,
I'll do it
please.
from the beginning. So, the dog's front, so the first paragraph here.
Okay, the summary?
Yeah, it says summary. Yes, summary. In the absence of her parents, a girl of 4 months was killed by a 2-year-old male Rottweiler dog belonging to the same family. The dog's front teeth marks of individual circular or scratch-like abrasions, as well as slit-like skin severances of the skin, arranged in curved lines. There seems to be a word or two missing.
No, you missed a word. That's
I
okay.
did.
That's
Yes.
okay, go ahead.
Okay. The pattern of skin lesions largely corresponded to the anatomy of the dog's set of teeth.
Let's stop there.
Bev will then make another court hearing costing Karen Reed another $15,000-$20,000. She doesn't care.
How does the sentence you just read, what's the key component of that sentence that supports
No. The polar bear population haven't been bigger in my lifetime than it is right now. They are doing great.
your pattern recognition methodology?
That sentence, the pattern of skin lesions.
Now let's go down to the keywords. Is there anything in the keywords that supports in roots your opinion that you've given several times that there's in dog bite wounds on humans, there's a pattern?
Yes, so there's about five or so keywords. One of them is injury pattern.
Why is there a section in many medical studies of key words?
So when you're researching, you can find the articles quickly.
And is there any importance to the use of key words when there is a study published?
Well, yes, because it's a key concept of the paper.
Please proceed to and I know it may take a little bit of time and with the court's permission, to the next section of this article that supports your opinion that there is a pattern to dog bite wounds on humans and that there's a pattern recognition methodology used to discern them.
Well, I think the next significant section would be 3.2,
And what is the title of that section?
morphology of dog bite injuries.
What does morphology mean in the medical community?
Basically it means form.
And could it mean something in addition to form?
Form, pattern, appearance, yes.
So with regard to morphology section, please identify the sections,
Those white claws are not going to drink themselves, Brandon. Come on now.
the parts of the article under this section that you believe that you have concluded support your opinion of both the existence of patterns and a pattern recognition methodology with respect to dog-inflicted wounds.
Well, I go to the second paragraph.
Please read that.
Okay. The bite mark on the skin is ideally a complete and congruent imprint of the front dental arch. Sometimes only the protruding canine teeth are imprinted. If the shorter incisors also leave an impression, smaller skin lesions, round pressure marks, or streaky glide marks can be found between the impact points of the canines. In practice, it is hardly expected that all 6 incisors of a jaw will act uniformly. A gap in the injury pattern can have several causes: oblique biting, curvature of the body surface, interposition of textiles.
What does that mean? I'm going to stop you. What is interposition of textiles and layperson speak, and how, if at all, is that relevant to this case?
It's clothing overlying the area that was bitten.
And was there clothing overlying?
I'm not saying that I know what's in this tumbler, but I'm pretty sure that the moonshine little D gave me in Tennessee is water next to it.
The bite mark wounds of the deceased?
Yes,
And what clothing specifically was that?
it was a hoodie type sweater.
Please continue reading.
Okay, interposition of textiles, different tooth lengths, tooth loss, form and positional anomalies of the teeth.
And keep reading, please.
On the next page,
Yes.
the spectrum of possible injury forms is extremely diverse. Depending on the type and intensity of local tissue damage, skin contusions with epithelial loss, linear abrasions, tears and or crush wounds, as well as puncture-like lesions can be.
Thank you. So do these studies directly or indirectly support your opinions in this case that there's both a pattern to dog bite wounds on humans and that there is a pattern recognition methodology to discern them?
They do.
And is it direct or indirect support, these studies?
I believe this is direct.
And do you believe it's robust, these studies, or do you believe there's equivocation with regard to pathognomonic features?
No, I think it's robust, and these articles are cited elsewhere.
And are these articles, particularly the Munich article, is the citation ubiquitous in the medical literature, or is it sporadic? Are there a lot of citations to Munich in the medical literature, or are there only a few?
There are quite a few.
And do you recall the book that Mr. Brennan showed to you earlier on in the hearing?
Yes.
Oh, let's
Does
get into the
that
book.
book cite to Munich as support for a section in the book?
It does.
Oops.
Now, there was
That was the book
confusion.
that was the gold
You can
standard.
put those studies to the side for now, Dr. Russell. Thank you. Now, there was some confusion on cross-examination regarding where these articles could be found. Some were looking for them in your CV. I'm sorry, Mr. Brennan.
All right, so I'll strike that part of it. Just go ahead without commentary and just ask the question, please.
Yes.
Redirect.
Sure.
Oh, he's not allowed to do
Um,
commentary, but the other guy was.
Where are the references? Well, are
We've
there
been in-
references to these articles?
We've seen Bev.
in
We know
your
how this works.
Yeah, only one side can do it.
CV, or are the references to these articles in your report?
In my report.
During cross-examination, it was stated that you, quote, suggested that you came to your pattern recognition skills because of communication difficulties or because people couldn't share with you or report to you the cause of the wound. Is that an accurate statement about how you develop your pattern recognition skills?
I don't know where that statement comes from.
I'm happy to provide it, or I could read
So
it.
let's strike that first part of it
Okay,
and just ask the question, please. Again, this is redirect, it's not cross-examination.
understood. Yes, understood. Thank you. Have you ever suggested that you came to pattern recognition skills because of communication difficulties or because people wouldn't share with you or report to you the cause of a wound?
No.
Would that be an accurate statement at all about how you develop pattern recognition skills?
No.
And why is that not accurate?
Because pattern recognition skills are again taught in various subjects in medical school. And I actually started even before medical school, but in medical school, they're taught in various subjects and in internship and residency. And that was long before I started interviewing patients, with the dog bites of unknown etiology.
Is pattern recognition common or uncommon in the practice of medicine?
Very common.
Can you please give some examples of pattern recognition and the use of pattern recognition methodology in the practice of medicine?
So I think she already did this before the break, right, doctor?
I mentioned it earlier with pathology, looking at biopsies.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Rizzo. This is about you, and so you've heard it, and I'm going to move on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to move on to a different section. You have been asked on cross about whether in your emergency department experiences, well, let me rephrase that. In your emergency department experiences with dog-inflicted wounds, have you ever gone to see the dog in question?
No,
Do emergency medicine physicians need to go see the particular dog or any dog in question to determine whether a wound is from a dog as opposed to some other cause?
no,
Do you, Dr. Russell, need to go to the particular dog to determine whether a wound is from a dog?
no,
Have you ever heard of an emergency medicine physician needing to go visit a dog to evaluate and treat a wound from a dog?
no.
Is that a rational proposition?
I don't believe so.
There was much discussion. Well, let me strike this. You were asked a number of questions about whether your testimony here for this hearing and your statements in your report are different from what you testified to in June 18 and June 21 of 2024. What I'd like to do is to compare the two and go through some questions with regard to that. So,
Yeah, and this is the thing that the Commonwealth tried to say isn't a way to determine anything, because you can't use pattern recognition because it's not described in a book. No, because it's simple logic. You use your experience. It's the same when MG is preparing a case and it's about a car accident. He doesn't have to go and think, I have to go look at family law, I have to look at criminal law, no, his pattern recognition says, I'll probably have to go look at laws pertaining DUI or car accidents, whatever it is. It's just stupid.
what I would like to
It was a
do
bad argument.
is to have you have
Everything's bad
Exhibit
arguments.
35, which is the
And again,
transcript of the December 12.
no way should
You
it
have
be
that?
thrown out.
It's a thick,
No.
it's the December 12, 2024. You should have that,
I do.
okay? And what I would like you to do is to also have available exhibits 35 and 36 and 37, because that's what we're going to do side by side comparisons. So let's start out with the foundation for this. Do you have an opinion with regard to the nature and source of the wounds on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
Yes,
What is that opinion?
they're from dog bites, dog attacks.
Exactly.
And do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes,
In all fairness,
Now-
they're not charging a whole lot of DUIs up there, from what I understand.
Well,
At the
it's not all
June-
about being drunk driving.
Excuse me.
Exactly.
At the June 2024 voir dire hearing, the claim is that you didn't say to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that the bites you looked at were a dog. So can you please go to tab 36, pages 1-30, line 13 to 1-31, line 1. Stop it. 1-31, line 1. These were questions in response to what you were asked on direct by Mr. Jackson. And I would, with the court's permission, like you to read the question in the answer to what you actually testified to at that voir dire hearing. So please go to tab 36.
So can I see Counselor Tybach, please?
Yes.
Oh, now you can't talk about it? I love that.
If he's about to
all the-
play word games, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
What you
I love
actually
how,
said was within a degree of scientific certainty, not to a degree of. Oh my god!
No, this is this is re-examination. It's not cross. We left cross before the break. It's
Yeah,
still
wasn't that the annoying guy that was just speaking though?
no. It's a Leslie.
Oh, I missed.
That's why he is asking questions like he is telling you about biology. He has a way to ask questions very slowly and very precisely, where the other guy was like, so Dr. Russell, have you ever seen a dog? Oh, you have never seen a dog. Have you ever seen this dog? Have you seen that dog? Did you know that there's a dog in Lassie? Is it this dog? Is Lassie the dog? Have you ever seen Benji?
I thought Brennan was standing up. I thought he was speaking, but he must have just been real eager to go to sidebar.
It could be a dinosaur bite.
Could be.
But I love all the Smurfs are on Twitch right now. The feds disproved the dog bite theory. They crossed Dr. Russell. Yeah, by misstating everything in the trial. The tempered glass, I still need to know who, if any, mentioned tempered glass.
Yeah, that's brand new. He just made that up.
Yeah.
There's no tempered glass found at the scene. There was no reports of any tempered glass being broken from the vehicle. I don't know where that came from.
It's but you can trust the feds on this one, but you can't trust them when they say John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, because that's just logic. He was. Oh, I love Plevin. He's such an idiot. I had AI try to go through one of his arguments today, and it ended up saying there's no evidence substantiating his claims. He claimed that Just Levy would. He worded it, so far no one has been unalived because of Just Levy. That's pretty harsh to state a DOJ chief in Massachusetts, because he's doing his job, might have people unalived. But El Retato dans la attic.
Yeah, I tried to watch one or two of his streams and I just couldn't. It
was
far off.
Back when I had nothing, I was like, oh, should I do the react thing that everyone does? And I think I would just have punched one of my screens before I was done with that. Yeah, Hank's line of questioning, but it also shows she doesn't understand what was said in the first trial, because Lally said it wouldn't help if we had Chloe, because you can't use dog bites to say it's this dog. And she never claimed it was Chloe. Again, that's another thing. He's trying to imply that this lady said it was Chloe who bit him. She never did.
She never said that.
It's a large dog.
She's still correct, though. Chloe was clearly a dangerous dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Russell, could you, first of all, do you recall in questions on cross the claim by Mr. Brennan or the statement in his question by Mr. Brennan that you did not express certainty in response to Judge Cannoni's question about the certitude of your opinion? Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
He needs to connect the beard.
Yeah.
Do
it
you
looks weird.
recall?
It looks like a neck beard.
Well, let's
Not
go
really.
and look exactly
Just
at what
connect it,
you
Alan.
said
Just
in
throw that part
response
in, buddy.
to the question
100%.
that Mr. Brennan raised, that was raised by the judge. If you could turn to Exhibit 36. And if you could read page 1-51, lines 10 through 23. I'm sorry, bear with me a moment.
No, you need to have this in check. You can't.
Bear with me, I want to give you the correct citation.
That doesn't work. You have to be on top of it. Have your notes ready so you know.
I want you to go.
My guess is they did all this over the break.
Did I say 37? I wanted
Yeah.
to say 36. Did I say 36?
You said
36.
36, but you said page 151. You might have meant page 131.
Right. That's what I want to go to, Your Honor, which I will. Okay.
That sounded like that physically pained her to help the defense.
Bear with me a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
This is going to be one of only 2 questions in this area.
You may have meant page 130. That's where we started before we came to sidebar.
Thank you, Your Honor. What I'm trying to do is to get to Your Honor's question. That's what I'm going to pull out.
My question was on page 151.
I'm sorry?
My question was on page 151.
150. Thank you, Your Honor.
151.
Can you go to page 151 and read the questions from the court, Judge Cannoni, and what your answers were?
Yes, from line 10. The court, question. I just have a couple of questions for you. I don't think I really heard you. So could you tell me again what your opinion is and to what degree you hold that opinion? Answer, yes. These injuries in the arm are, my opinion is that they are the result of animal bites or scratches. Question, do you know what kind of animal? Answer, yes, most likely dog, large dog. And I'm very reasonable, very sure to, what's the word I want? Medical certainty. Very sure, high degree of medical certainty. Question, reasonable degree of medical certainty? Answer, yes, definitely. Question, and another question.
No, that's
it.
That's it. Yep. Now, to be fair and accurate, has your opinion that the wounds to the right arm of the decedent were caused by a large dog attack strengthened from June of 2024 until now?
They have.
Why?
Well, because between then and now, my opinions have been challenged. And as any good doctor would do, they go back and reevaluate what they base their opinions on. And I did
Let's
that.
get the
I
police back.
reevaluated.
Right.
I looked at the pictures again, the evidence again. I looked at peer review studies, and I was convinced that I was correct.
And had you looked And, well, what caused you to go look at the peer-reviewed studies? What
Oh,
were you doing?
yes. Well, so I looked at the peer review studies, and I periodically would do that throughout my whole career in terms of dog bites. But I looked at the peer review studies again because I was asked, why I didn't write a report, and so I was asked to write a report.
Were you asked to write a report before in June of 2024?
No,
But you were asked to write a report after June of 2024.
correct.
Now, let's go to is this what doctors and scientists do? Go back and analyze a matter, especially when maybe there's a challenge, another doctor is a question, there's a peer review process, whatever it is that something that's common or uncommon in the medical community?
That's very common.
I only have a few more questions, Your Honor. I'm just looking at them to conclude. On cross, you were asked about whether you were aware of or whether you saw a need to peer review your opinions and conclusions in this matter. You recall that?
Yes.
Was that necessary?
No.
Why not?
Because first of all, there was no question in my mind that these were from dog bites.
And are there any persons that you're aware of in the entire country who have experience with emergency medicine and forensic pathology that you could even send it to for a peer review?
No, and that was the other issue, is I wouldn't even know who to send it to because I don't know of anybody with such experience.
I am going to, let's assume hypothetically that Mr. Walsh has stated that these injuries do not photographically appear to be described as puncture bite wounds and thus are highly unlikely to be the result of an animal bite attack. The abrasions are unspecific. Abrasions occur in body moves over a blunt or rough surface such as a skin knee. Do you find that analysis sufficient to evaluate whether the bite wounds in this, the wounds to the right arm of the right arm of the decedent are from a dog or not?
No.
Why not?
Well, clearly that person, whoever wrote that, didn't even recognize the pattern. And so thus couldn't really even make that opinion and, just didn't recognize the features.
In the hypothetical that I just gave you, do the facts that are used in any way support the conclusion that is stated?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so, or can you answer whether they do or they don't? Do the facts stated in that hypothetical support the conclusion that is made in that statement?
Actually, they don't.
Assume the same person said a vehicle backing into O'Keefe is one of many possible causes of his death, though the absence of documented injuries of his torso, hips, and legs appear to be inconsistent with a vehicle impact of significant force to simultaneously shatter a rear taillight. Would you agree or disagree with that statement? Or the conclusion? Would you agree or disagree with the conclusion?
Would you please read it again?
Sure.
Sorry.
A vehicle backing into O'Keefe is one of many possible causes of his death, though the absence of documented injuries of his torso, hips, and legs appear to be inconsistent with a vehicle impact of significant force to simultaneously shatter a rear taillight. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I agree up to the point, the mention of the taillight.
But what is it that you agree with in that statement?
Well, I agree to the part that says that that it was insufficient to cause the injuries, the death of.
I don't need to make a poll. She'll take it under advisement. She'll make a ruling later.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
If I was a betting man, I would bet on that.
Yeah,
Mr. O'Keefe.
that's what she's
Now,
done
aside
literally
from that
every hearing. we've had.
hypothetical question, what is
Yeah, now she's going to do and she has the ARCA thing. Again, we can't say where they have been employed. That's why we can't use them. Go fuck yourself. The education alone makes them experts.
No kidding.
But and it's a possible exclusion. It's not even a motion to exclude. It's I hate this guy more than I hated Ladley.
Same. This guy drives me nuts.
Yeah.
your opinion of whether a motor vehicle caused the injuries to the right?
Right now, she's being questioned by the defense. I don't know why everyone thinks he's battering her. He's asking the questions very clearly because these are the questions that are important for Bev to make her decision. Everything Brennan was just to try and discredit her. I don't think she's battered. They talked about this testimony before today. They talked about it at lunch. So she's going along with him fine.
Arm of Mr. O'Keefe.
Motor vehicle did not cause.
And do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Are you aware that only microscopic pieces of plastic were found in the hoodie sweatshirt of Mr. O'Keefe as opposed to, quote, littered, end quote, aspects?
End
I am.
quote. We don't use that language.
Are you aware of any evidence of littering of pieces of plastic or glass in the hoodie of Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Are you aware that there was pig DNA found on the decedent?
Finally.
Are you aware?
Not on the decedent.
On any aspects of the decedent's clothing?
Yes.
Do you know?
In Denmark, you would find it at every supermarket. I don't know about New Jersey.
I'm sure Walmart's got it, man.
Yeah, and make sure that it's under $5 for a gallon, or else you won't get that turpentine aftertaste.
You need the real experience. Go $5 or under.
With taxes.
From your experience with regard to dog-inflicted wounds, your many emergency room evaluations and treatments of them, whether or in your knowledge of dog.
No, pig DNA on, he said, misstated it. It's on the victim's clothes. That's where he wanted to go.
Dogs, in dog dentition in general, are you aware of whether dogs eat any type of food or treat that has pig in it?
I'm aware that dogs, some dogs eat treats that have the pig chews and other kinds of chews. So yes, they do. Some dogs do eat things that contain pig.
Your Honor, just if you will, a point of information. I believe I'm done with my questions, and the reason why I say I believe I'm
Why don't
done.
you come to sidebar instead of having
Okay.
discussion across the court?
I hate that she does that. It drives me absolutely nuts that she does that.
Yeah.
Speak. I want to hear you rule poorly. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I want to hear you yell at one side and say, oh, Lally, I packed your lunch today. You're getting 2 fig Newtons. I don't know what a fig Newton is, but I heard it in a film
It's a really
once.
crappy cookie.
Is it worse than moon pie?
I'd probably take the fig Newton personally.
Yeah.
It's got like figs, like a jelly like fig filling with the soft outer cookie.
I have these ice snack on. It's fig bars and these have strawberries and some have blueberries. They're good little energy spiker when you're sitting here for.
All right, so
for 3
recross
hours.
examination?
Oh, Brendan is back. He was way faster than he said.
Yeah, he is.
We should be done today then if he doesn't go absolutely bonkers.
He gets a redirect or a recross?
A recross.
Damn.
Helene T, she did good and they got her rehabilitated in my eyes. Brennan lied, he misstated evidence. I think she did good on redirect.
I'm holding Mr. Brendan up. I just want to need my stuff, and I'll be ready in a moment.
Yeah, he probably would.
Okay.
Dr. Russell, Attorney Lisi, pardon me, asked you about Dr. Walsh's statement about the cause of injuries. You remember? He just asked you that?
Yeah.
What he didn't offer in the report is this, and let me know if you agree with it. Decedent John O'Keefe was documented to have craniocerebral injuries, including skull fractures of the occipital skull and the right parietal bone with associated subdural and subarachnoid hemorrhages. These injuries of the scalp, skull, and brain are consistent with, among other things, a backwards fall, unobstructed, unprotected falls due to various reasons and known to result in serious craniocerebral injuries resulting in death. Other mechanisms of injury cannot be excluded.
And this is what I don't get. Why is she being asked about skull fractures when she is just testifying that the injuries to his forearm is dog bites? They should object, but they went into it as well. But she is only there to testify those bites. She's not the medical examiner. That's the other guy who's also a massive expert, which they will probably try to exclude at some point. She's only there to testify. But again, your team didn't say he fell backwards. They said he pirouetted, hit his head on the curb, then flew backwards and landed somewhere between 10 and 20 feet off the road. And you mistakenly said 7 feet today, Mr. I know everything.
Do you agree with that?
Objection.
I'm going to allow him to do it.
Do you agree with that part that you didn't hear of Mr. Walsh's opinion?
Yes.
The documented changes in color swelling of soft tissue around the eyes are most consistent with the medical finding of periorbital ecchymosis, as documented in the autopsy report.
Thank you, Jess, for
Periorbital
another
ecchymosis
square
is
jaw.
a passive accumulation of blood around the eyes secondary to the documented skull fractures. These findings are less consistent with and are not documented as contusions of the eyes. The 1 centimeter laceration of the right upper eyelid, laceration of the anterior right tongue, and abrasion of the anterior and left aspect of the nose are documented, considered nonspecific, and may have occurred to a variety of mechanisms. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. The 2 right contusions on the dorsal aspect of the right hand were documented. The hand injuries may represent an injury sustained during an unprotected fall in which the back of the hand impacts the ground. These hand injuries are nonspecific and may have resulted from impact of hand.
Yeah, they did object.
He
and
just
Bev
did.
said, I want to hear
Yeah.
the question.
Bev
Any-
allowed
Agree
it.
with that?
Shocking.
It's possible, but there
No, she is not supposed to have watched the entire trial, and she's not violating her ethics, phoning it in like this. and she should not have been prepared for all of this. She is exclusively there to testify that she believes that the injuries to John O'Keefe's forearm is a dog bite or a dog attack. She's not there to testify why he has a small abrasion on his right knee, why he has contusions to his eyes, injuries to the back of his head, why his socks wasn't never put into evidence, what if any glass was found on the bumper, what is if any DNA. She is not there to testify about any of this. She's only there to testify as an expert in dog bites. But this has gone way too far.
There are other mechanisms.
Okay. When you talked about those articles that Mr. Alisi had you read, there is nothing that details what pattern recognition analysis is, the specificity which you are looking for when you're looking for a wound, does it?
I disagree.
Okay. When you looked at that Exhibit 5, if you could pull that up, you said individually none of those wounds could you say to a reasonable degree of medical certainty were caused by a dog. It's only if you looked at them collectively.
Yes.
Okay. When you look at those collectively, it does not tell you the order in which the wounds were incurred, does it?
No.
It doesn't tell you if they're all incurred at the same time, does it?
They would occurred around the same time, I can tell you that.
Yes. But they don't tell you the order, the chronology, do they?
That doesn't,
No.
again, she's not there to testify in what order it happened. She's there to testify that she, in her opinion, believes a dog did it.
In fact, when you look at the studies that you introduced from Mr. Alisi, let's talk about the Metathon very quickly. There's a chart, page 298. It talks about the things you would want to do to identify a wound. It talks about scene investigation, doesn't it, in the chart, table 2?
That's a fatal case, though.
Scene investigation is something you would look for?
That's in a fatal case caused by a dog. The cause of death was the dog.
This whole thing is, the whole excerpt is a fatal case that you're relying on for this pattern recognition analysis.
But it's
This whole
not by a
article is
dog,
about
you
a fatal
idiot.
case,
That's
isn't
what
it?
I'm saying.
Right. And in this fatal case that you're relying on to say this pattern recognition analysis, it points out scene investigation is the priority, doesn't it?
I think you misunderstand. The focus of that article is to identify the dog that caused the fatal injury. In this particular case, I don't believe any of those are fatal injury. That is not the purpose of the identification of those injuries.
Does the chart also say examination of the victim?
Excuse me?
Examination of the victim, does it also say examination of the victim?
I don't have it in front of me anymore,
Well,
but
you relied on it, you don't remember
Yes.
this?
I think we have it.
You lied on it. You don't remember this?
do I have it? Oh, yeah, just a minute. Okay.
If he
Table
keeps
two.
going like this,
Okay.
Page
he's
98,
probably off
examination of the
the
victim. You did not examine the victim, did
Call
you?
again.
He's doing his best Ben
Yeah,
No.
Shapiro
page 98.
impression. I'll
The
tell you
last
that
part
much.
is examination of the,
I examined photos.
the last part is examination of the dog. You did not examine Chloe, did you?
No,
Okay, so the 3 things in the table it tells you to do, you didn't do any 3 of those, not one of them.
those, again, the purpose of this article was about the fatal, the forensic approach to a fatal dog attack. We did not have a fatal dog attack here.
You didn't do any of those 3 things, did you?
No,
Okay. The shards in the sleeve, exactly where those wounds are, same area, same limb, right? The
That's what you
shards,
say.
how many shards were in that sweater?
Objection, Your Honor.
So I'm sorry, you said that's what you say, doctor? Is that what?
yeah,
is that
and
what
he
your
said,
answer is?
Mr. Brennan said that the shards were in the exact same location as those wounds.
Okay,
And
let me
that-
rephrase that. The shards in the right arm of the sweater, the shards from the taillight that was shattered,
Yes,
those shards, how many were there? How many?
I believe there were only a couple.
Why do you believe there were only a couple? Where did you read that?
This is what I was told
This is you were told by who?
by defense.
Oh, so instead of looking at the actual criminalistics report, you simply rely on what they tell you to base your facts?
That's what I was told. Yes.
Wouldn't it be more prudent to actually look at the criminalistics report and make your own determination objectively and medically rather than regurgitate a point of the defense?
Well, I was told, this morning you said that the sleeve was littered with glass. And I was told that it was not littered.
Have you ever looked at that criminalistics report for
I'd be
yourself?
happy to do so now.
I'm asking if you've ever looked at it before you offer this opinion.
No.
No. If the glass shards were in that sweater in the arm,
Yeah, but there's no jury today. This is only for Auntie Bev to decide if she is allowed to be an expert witness, which she should be because he's just muddying the water, trying to put everything other than her expertise in there.
and we know glass can cause a hole in a sweater in a fabric and puncture.
They
Not glass.
magically found Chloe, and they have an impression of her teeth now, which you can't use, but still. And the defense, I hope they were with them when they identified Chloe, proved that it was Chloe, and saw that dog mold or the teeth mold was from Chloe.
It, and it can cause an abrasion to skin. Have you done any tests or studies to rule out that the broken tail light that was in the arm sleeve of Mr. O'Keefe, did you do any studies to rule out that it didn't cause those injuries?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
Why?
The glass shards would not have caused all the round wounds in the sweater. Those holes. The defects in the sweater mostly were round. They were not slit-like defects that I would expect with glass and plastic.
You're telling us that a sharp piece of glass cannot cause a hole to a sweater.
No, I didn't say
No,
that.
that's not what she
It
said.
would not,
You're
especially
fucking lying all the
multiple
time.
sites, the same exact type wound,
Well,
defect.
If the glass was shattered and the glass had a number of pointy edges, wouldn't you agree with me that can cause a number of punctures in somebody's arm if the glass went into the arm and then came out?
Yes, but they wouldn't look like that.
You don't have any past case of history to suggest what the glass shards would look like randomly when they hit somebody, do you?
That's incorrect. I have seen hundreds of motor vehicle accident victims who have been cut by glass. They don't look like that.
So from your perspective, the glass just remained dormant in the sweater, but never protruded through the sweater and caused the abrasions. That's your opinion?
I didn't say
Your
that.
Honor, could we have a sidebar on this one?
I have no further questions.
The O'Keefes are really enjoying this. Yeah, MG, you're 100% correct. Taillight is very obviously plastic, not glass. I don't know why he keeps saying glass. I don't know why he went into tempered glass. None of that makes a damn bit of sense. He's just being a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so
you're
stupid.
spot on
And
there.
for anyone who haven't seen it, restraining order denied for Aiden Kearney.
Dr. Russell, when I'm referring to these shards, and I've said glass shards in Mr. O'Keefe's sweater, a more accurate way to define it would be that these were plastic shards, the plastic covering of the taillight, not glass.
Oh, yeah.
Moron.
Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
Dr. Russell, you are all set.
we're done.
We're done. You're done. You're done. You can step down, Dr.
Thank
Russell.
you.
Woohoo! Bed before 10.
If counsel really can keep your, Mr. Lessie, if counsel really can keep your arguments to 15 or 20 minutes, I'll give you 5 minutes to pull them together, 5 or 10 minutes to pull them together. All right. All right, so I'll be back out at 3:15.
All right, please.
Well, the argument should just be everything he said was bullshit.
Everything this guy just said is bullshit. God bless it, man.
Yeah, it's polycarbonate. But this guy has been calling it tempered glass the entire day, which is a lie again. And again, he has no idea what happened in the first trial. We have been through all of these arguments. He has no idea what she said because she keeps lying about what she stated in the first trial. Keep lying about what she stated today. He seems like sorry, all my friends who are defense lawyers. He seems like a really slimy defense lawyer who will just keep throwing words at you until you F up and say something, and he can say, oh, I got you. Clearly, my client is innocent.
That seems to be his strategy thus far.
Yeah.
He's trying to get the gotcha. I mean, all it looks like you're picking on an old lady who's been doing this longer than you've been alive, man.
But Aiden updated on TwitSweat. Restraining order denied. Thank you to everyone who showed up to support me through this very difficult testimony today in which I had to relieve a series of very traumatic events. Thank you to my lawyer, Tim Bradle, for doing an amazing job today. The existence of this order made me live in constant fear of going back to jail. It is a huge relief to be able to move on with my life and focus on what truly matters. So,
Good.
Grant was threatened with 90 days in jail by the judge and had to leave the courtroom temporarily.
Also good.
Also good.
Just poor decisions that guy makes.
Yeah, and he tries to hook up with that girl that Aiden was in court with today. She has more restraining orders than I have illegitimate children. And I used to be in the Navy. Probably not. She will now hear their arguments, and then she'll take it under advisement, and then she'll go back and knock back a 6-pack of White Claws. What did Grant do? Probably not probably, something stupid. If I could see some pictures of the goats, I would more likely make a donation. I'm not sure I believe there are goats. He did a goat stream last night. I keep telling him that he should do a naming stream and grift naming the goats and make some money for his farm off of that. Can we watch it when it's released on Canton TV? If it's released, yes, I think I'll see it. Aiden is Turtle Boy, yes. If they have Grant getting in trouble, I want to see it. Could be fun. How come Bruce Deuce is not the Bruce? Who? Who's Bruce? I don't know. Even Diva did a gold stream. Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Don't name the livestock, make them harder to eat. No. You just know which one had the right name, the right food. He should name the goats. I think he should name after legal vices. That's highest bidder gets to name a baby goat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's do a super chat roulette. Everyone else is grifting. Hey, I can stick a cactus in where the sun never shines if you pay me $5. No, grift a goat.
We're gonna chat's probably gonna be able to name 2 of them. I don't know how we're gonna decide it yet. I don't know if I like the highest bidder thing because then Lesko's just gonna outbid everybody and name it something ridiculous.
I know Brandon. He's my best mod 2025. And if I know anything about Brandon, who has been here for almost 2 years, I know Brandon to be a very reasonable man who never does anything to get anyone in trouble. He would probably. I'm not saying that one of your goats would be named
you, sir?
Kinta and the other goat would be named Kunta, but there could be something like that.
How dare you? The fix is in, y'all. The fix is in.
Well, I have my sponsored obligations. Yeah, doesn't sound like Brandon at all. Yeah, we named Danny Cheese goat shit.
Nice.
That's shit in Danish.
Lord's kind of a cool name.
Yeah. Super chat is going to a draw. That could be a thing.
That could be a thing.
Name after the Finnish temperature before heating.
Medium well.
Vote for the goat.
Lord. That's funny.
No, they were given 5 minutes to go and prepare finishing statement if they could keep it within 15 to 20 minutes. Good names for turkeys.
Yeah, that's good. We were talking about that the other night in the barn on my stream. You can name them stuff like Whopper or T-Bone. You know, those are all acceptable names. Pork chop, bacon. That's fine.
You can't make pork chop out of a goat.
Well, no, obviously those you can't. T-bones come from a cow. Whoppers of beef. I was just listed. I was giving examples, Baker. I was just giving examples.
Are they meat or milk goats?
They're Nubians are dual purpose, so they're really good dairy goats, but they also happen to be giant, so they get quite a decent amount of meat off of them too. They're not perfect for meat; they're more dairy, but they're dual purpose.
And Jose Ibarras was given the maximum sentence of life without parole today in the Lake and Riley case. So good thing that guy should have that.
Yeah, he's gonna have a rough time.
Kalkun is Norwegian, well, it's also Danish for turkey.
Calcoon. All right.
No boxed wine. The goat's future name, only Fireball.
Fireball. Do, 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 do. Yeah.
He was even worse. He was obnoxious. He was condescending. He was lying. He was misstating. He kept. He went way out of scope for any of her expertise. He was way worse than last time. Lally seemed competent. Well, he didn't seem competent, but he seemed less dishonest than this guy.
Yeah.
Kalkon in Dutch.
Calcoon.
Name it after McKinley. T-Bone. Was she called T-Bone?
Yeah, remember she had the T-bone steak emoji going in chat for a little while.
Oh yeah. She I think Dave was that's why he retired when she stopped streaming, because then there was no one near his height streaming anymore. He was
apparently
2
Shizzy.
inches higher than him.
Apparently Shizzy's like 3'7" too. He's a little fellow.
T-Bone is T-Bane. We call it T-Bone. We don't
T-Bane.
that. It's bean means bone. We call it bean.
Don't read it out loud. Same. Oh, Tammy, welcome to Goat Herders. You get cool emojis like Fluffy.
My vote is Loki. Goats are
Yeah,
very
Loki.
mischievous.
We had it Loki.
Well,
We sold
actually, there's a story about how Thor got 2 humans as servants, because Thor had a wagon that was pulled by 2 goats, and it's their hooves that makes the lightning when they run across the sky, and the wagon wheels that make the thunder. And but he could kill them and eat them,
All right,
and
did
then
council have enough time to pull your thoughts
swing
together?
Mjolnir over
Okay.
it, and they would live
All
again.
right, Mr. Brennan, it's your motion, so I will hear you.
Box wine and
I agree
brandy.
with the judge, Mr. Brennan.
I'd like to start with a couple of very important cases for your honor's consideration. The first one out of
Find a microphone.
the District of Massachusetts Federal Court. It's Hines 55 Federal Supplement, second, page 62
I really
to
dislike him.
1992 case, authored by Judge Berger. It had to do with a soft science handwriting analysis. There's a very thorough and
No. You're not going to compare wound recognition with handwriting.
Is that what he's about to try to do?
Yeah, he's talking about handwriting analysis.
thoughtful case that talked about soft sciences, methodology, and when there was an absence of methodology. In that case, I'm sure Your Honor is aware, it had to do with a proposed witness who wanted to look at a handwriting exemplar and provide an opinion of a so-called match. The court said there were very important canons, very important principles and foundations that have to be considered when we're discussing a soft science. Empirical study is not enough. Simply because somebody has seen something before, whether it's once or twice or 100 times, is not a science. It's not a methodology. It's not medicine. It is a personal aside. A potential expert has to be in a better position to.
Valhalla, you know the big C that you can get?
Mm-hmm.
a doctor, if you come in and say, I have a bump here, it's really hurting me, does he look at it and say, well, I've seen it 100 times before. I would like a biopsy of it to confirm it's the big C, but that's not science, so I can't order a biopsy because I would have to rely on my skills of recognizing that this bump could be the big C.
We talked about it in the last stream.
Ah!
In medicine, especially, pattern recognition is at the forefront of how they operate, right? If you come in with flu symptoms, they're going to give you the flu medicine before they get the results back because that's just how medicine works.
Yeah, they're not going to say, you probably have hemorrhoids.
Here's some hemorrhoid cream for your sneeze.
Understand and explain to jurors rather
I
than
wish this guy had hemorrhoids.
That means there has to be some level of methodology, some type of guidance, some type of study so that they can assist the jury in better understanding what they believe their conclusions are. Empirical is not enough because a subjective opinion without medical, factual, scientific support is just an opinion. A person can look at the constellations and see the Big Dipper, they can see Orion. It's a matter of perspective. It's no different when we have something like a soft science, something different than DNA, where a person wants to give an opinion because they've seen something before. That's not enough. And in this case, Dr. Russell has never been in the business of identifying dog bite wounds. She treats them. She's an emergency room physician, had some experience as an ME. She treats a wound that is brought to her. She's not diagnosing the wound or determining the mechanics of injury. She doesn't have the education. She doesn't have the qualifications. She doesn't have the training for that. That is not what her job is. It is to treat the injuries. And so all of her perspective and opinions are empirical. She doesn't have a book. She doesn't have a study that teaches her how to do. She never took a training. She never took a class. She never got a degree or certificate. She's looking at her past experience when someone reports to her that it was a dog bite wound, and she's trying to use her memory and make a decision whether or not she thinks this is similar.
Did he just say it's a matter of perspective if you see the Big Dipper or Orion? No, if you've seen Orion, that's the Northern Star, right?
The North Star is in Orion, yes. Orion's
Yeah.
belt, the warrior with the spear.
But that's four length of the back part of the Big Dipper. So what he's actually saying is, if you only focus on the wrong thing, you'll only see that thing. Yeah, but she didn't. She looked at the totality. She looked about and saw the Milky Way. She didn't just see one star. That's what you said.
Yes.
That is not science. That is not medical certainty. And so there's nothing to suggest that whatever method she used, I still can't identify it because I don't know, despite many questions of asking her, what her methodology is, other than she says it's pattern recognition analysis. It's empty phrasing unless you can identify and articulate what is the specificity, what is the standard, and we still don't know. After all of this testimony, we don't know. In Cromwell versus Rintala, that case had to do with a prosecution expert talking about paint spill. And this is, could not fit more closely to this case. The conviction was overturned because the prosecution called the paint spill expert. It was found to be prejudicial because the expert relayed their past experience about paint spills. Exactly what Dr. Russell did in this case. No more, no less. Her past experience treating.
Absolutely not. I covered the Rintala case, not with the paint splatter expert, but I looked into it. The problem was he couldn't reproduce the environment because he didn't know how hot, how cold, how long. That has absolutely nothing to do with recognizing a wound. This guy is
Injuries that reported as dog bites, a person with a past experience with paint spills. the
MG, you might be
court
right. I'm not
was very
100% sure. I
specific.
thought it was
Yeah.
like at the
Ronaldo,
spear tip or
about
something.
why
Could be very
this was
wrong.
improper and why it was prejudicial. It said that just because a witness has experience or a particular experience and decides to use that as a methodology does not make it methodology. And it's just like Dr. Russell's testimony. There is nothing about it that employs methodology. In Ronaldo, pardon? Thank you. In Rapala, direct the court to page 39. And it talks about when the expert used methods to determine that paint was poured or spilled. And the problem, why this case was reversed, the court said, instead, meaning the expert, he simply relayed his past experiences working with and around paint and drew conclusions therefrom. That is exactly what Dr. Russell has done. She has relayed her past experiences working with and around treating dog bites and drew her conclusions from that. They cite
She did 2 peer-reviewed studies about the effects of dog bites from police dogs. She has more than a guy who just said, well, if you drop this paint on the floor, it'll turn pink. It turned from pink to white in approximately 4 hours. Oh. No, in Rintala with an I.
Which one was that?
Franceschi.
She was the lesbian who unalived her wife, the corner kisser case.
Oh, okay. And just real quick, because MG corrected me down there. Yeah, can we pull up this image really fast? North Star is the very tail end of the Little Dipper or Ursa Minor. I had it.
Yeah, and what he's saying is it's not a matter of perspective. It's a matter about if you only, like he said, is focusing on the North Star, or as you should be, focus on the entirety. It's him who wants to focus on the North Star.
Had nothing to do with what he was saying. I misspoke and said that it was in the Orion, and I was wrong, and I had to clarify.
Lisbeth, they are about to give the final arguments why she should not be allowed to testify. And he is using stupidity.
Probably saying that wrong as well. But what that quotes is, while training and experience, to which the expert referred, might have taught the expert methodology, it is...
Prosecutor brought an expert that didn't know basic math, and he's insulting her knowledge. Yeah, bits and bytes is a hard thing. Thank you, Irish.
Not itself a methodology. And so while Dr. Russell may have taught herself or been intrigued or interested in dog bites, it is no methodology. The defense has introduced a couple of articles. Those articles do not describe or lay out a methodology for identifying dog bite wounds. They don't provide a standard. They do not provide a comparison. They don't provide any guidance. And so the danger in having somebody go before a jury and portray themselves as an expert when they have no methodology is they can pretty much provide any opinion they want to the jury that can be unchecked because it's not factually based. It can't be compared. It can't be analyzed. It's not peer reviewed. It's just an opinion. And when an expert lacks methodology, classic things happen, which happened in this case. What happens is that a witness does not actually have certainty about what they're saying. A witness is prone to change their opinion because there is no standard or methodology to confine them.
But then she would have to tell you about it, and you can rebut
their mind without new information because it suits their purpose. When we looked at Exhibit 5, and we actually broke down the wounds into separate wounds, 5 wounds, the doctor, I believe, concedes when you look at each of those abrasions independently. She cannot say with scientific certainty. She can't say with any certainty that those were caused by a dog.
That's what you're supposed to do.
The fallback was when you look at the entire series of wounds, that equals a dog attack. No basis, no reason why we reached that bridge from uncertainty to dog attack other than just because she said so. That can't be challenged because there's no methodology. And so the risk we have is you have an expert who gets up in a voir dire and they give opinions. that wound number 1 could have been teeth marks, could have been claw marks. Wound number 2 could have been teeth, could have been claw. Wound number 3 the same. Really no idea. It's just guessing or speculating. And then they get up later and they change their opinion that more benefits their side. She later testifies at trial, sometimes maintaining teeth or claws. And then she appears in this hearing after writing a report and consulting, and she is emphatic that these are not scratches, but that they are dog bites. Think about the posture of that. If she is now saying that these are dog bites and they're not scratches, and she's changed her opinion, that impliedly concedes that her testimony
She
in
didn't.
front of the jury, for which she was allowed to testify as an expert, not only was inaccurate, not only unsure, but
Not inaccurate.
it's misleading. It cannot be helpful testimony.
It's a stretch, bro.
If an expert provides an opinion to a jury, and they later on, without any real changes in information,
support
changes their opinion for whatever reason. They're not constricted because there's no methodology or standard. And so the fact that this witness was allowed to testify at the last trial with opinions she no longer endorses or stands behind, and the fact that we can reasonably conclude that is misleading to the jury, well, that begets the argument that she should not be given another chance to go in front of a jury and give a different opinion without having actual factual and medical and scientific support. And she does not. There is no doubt about one thing. She has no idea. When I walked her through the different wounds on Exhibit 5, I invited her to explain to Your Honor, why is it that this wound was caused by a dog? There's no circumstantial evidence to support that, none whatsoever. It's just her personal empirical history dealing with dog injuries in the ER. And when I asked her for wound 1, what direction were these canines? She couldn't tell. Where's the puncture wound where the dog anchors and pulls? There is none.
No, because it
The
could.
distance and width of those wounds,
Stand up and
how
walk.
could she reasonably and fairly say they were caused by canines? Any indication, any support, any pattern recognition that would tell us. that
She
was
actually
caused by
explained
canines,
fairly well
wouldn't
why
give
she
us
didn't think
any-
it was an anchor and
Not weak
pull.
information, not information that I could fight with another expert, not information that I could say, wait, not the admissibility, none. She could just fall back on, well, when I look at everything, it's a dog bite. Same thing with number 2. Number 2, interestingly, the widths are much different than wound number 1. It doesn't take an expert to know that it wasn't the same mechanism that caused the injuries to wound 1 and 2. And if they want to continue to pretend it's a dog bite on wound 1, there's no way they can reconcile that wound 1 is any way similar to wound 2. It would have had to be a baby dog or a different dog or the pack of dogs I asked her about the first time I talked to her. It is totally
That's a terrible
different. And
take.
again, when I asked her for any specificity, these weren't hard leading questions. I opened to her to explain to us, why is that a dog bite now? She would only give us a conclusory answer. It just is. There was nothing about teeth or detention or about the dog, about anything that would support the claim that that was a dog bite and why she changed it from the scratch. None. We get to the elbow wound number 3. There's the speculation that the arm could have moved, would have moved. Yet she has no idea. She has no factual support for this. None. And she vacillates between this being potentially bites, scratches. All 5 of the different points on wound number 3 could be canines on both sides, or maybe there was a 4-point canine in a smaller fraction of number 1 and number 2 in wound 3. That cannot be. It defies common sense and reasonableness to say the same dog caused wound number 3, points 1 and 2, the so-called punctures, and caused number 1 and number 2. Again, you can simply look at the distance between canines are not going to move when a dog bites an arm. An arm can move, it can change the angle, the depth, the canine.
You're not a dog bite expert, sir. You know nothing about what you're talking about.
4, equally baseless. Wound number 4 at first wasn't sure if it even had to do with the dog attack, but then that made no sense. So Dr. Russell retreated to say, well, it did have something to do with the dog attack, but hard to define.
Made no sense.
And then wound number 5, again, a 4-point bite that is totally reconcilable with 1, 2, and 3. There is no collateral or supportive evidence to suggest that this is a dog bite at all. It's fertile imagination for her to get on the stand and claim it's a dog bite. Not just that there was no opportunity and that there was no dog that touched her, but the wounds are dissimilar. She cannot point to a pattern, a methodology, a standard to say, this is why this is a dog bite. It's just a dog bite. So it's interesting when we learn that she didn't know about much of the evidence that wholly contradicts the fact that this is a dog bite. She didn't know that there were plastic shards in the sleeve of his arm.
I thought they were glass, idiot.
The fact that there is physical evidence that results from a collision left in the very place where this wound happens to be there isn't mere coincidence. It isn't mere coincidence. It's exacting evidence. And what is not exacting evidence? The absence of DNA. Now, this is important because Dr. Russell was comfortable taking the stand and providing information to Your Honor for consideration that was totally baseless. It didn't in any way hamper her willingness to do that. She floated theories of taint in the DNA, or manipulation, or the DNA wasn't handled properly.
You specifically asked her
whatsoever
to give an example.
for her to suggest for a second that
You made her
DNA
float those
collection,
theories.
preservation, and testing wasn't sound. She had a right to look at the evidence in the criminalistic reports and the DNA process.
Has to have a emotional support.
She
Beverage.
knew she could not admit the significance because it would undermine the entire theory. And so she
And
was
I lied.
comfortable on the stand using her experience as a doctor to try to convince Your Honor that DNA was insignificant based on a demeaning of the evidence with no basis. An insulting claim that somebody did something wrong with no basis. The reason why that's important, it shows that this witness has the willingness to testify to Your Honor about a conclusion for which there is no support. This witness has the comfortableness to testify to Your Honor about an opinion that has no factual basis. And her doing that with the DNA was a parallel to her doing it with the dog bites. She is comfortable getting on the stand and simply giving the ultimate opinion that is helpful for her cause without any support. And so that DNA attack by her is reflective of her willingness to compromise fact, science, and medicine to just provide an opinion. Knowing there is no real methodology here, there just isn't. Knowing there's no standard, unable to provide us any balance for why this is a dog bite, having the free rein of an opportunity to look at the exhibit and tell us anything she wants to support its dog bite, and being unable to do that, the defense employs differential diagnosis. That's a fancy way of saying, well, we might not be able to prove this, but we can disprove everything else. That's the way they presented this expert. They own that. Because when you look at those different wounds, and you can't identify them as dog bites individually, you can't say the whole series becomes a dog bite.
Oh, this
Wound
is
1
so
has 0 value. Wound 2 has 0 value. So 5 times 0 is 0. Cumulatively, it does nothing for us. Even the word dog attack doesn't make you look at that and say, well, that's methodology.
15, 20
That's not
minutes. Come on now.
And so differential diagnosis is a very compelling argument for the government why you should not allow it. This witness is in no position, kind of like the DNA and kind of like the opinion on dog bites, she is in no position to engage in differential diagnosis regarding car accidents. She may have been a police officer, she treats injuries at the hospital. She's not an accident reconstruction specialist. She has never gone.
She has
to an
never
accident
testified.
reconstruction. In fact, she never even went to the scene in this case. She never saw Mr. Oak.
Neither
She
did
doesn't
your
know about much of the
reconstruction
evidence.
expert.
She didn't consider the black box. She didn't consider the speed. She doesn't know the angle.
She doesn't have to because she's not an expert in car hits. She's an expert in dog bites. This is not for you to argue that she is wrong. This is for the jury to decide. If Bev is going to let this happen, I don't know. I'm going to be drunk.
This is going to be such a painful trial, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my
Can we
God.
move that USA trip and Marissa can just take over again? I'll pay her
Marissa, get
twice
ready.
what I paid her the last time. Nothing.
Doesn't know what Mr. Keefe was doing in his last moments. She has no idea about any of that, none. Yet she'll be presented on the stand as if she can exclude a car collision as the cause of those injuries. Not that they could be inconsistent with what didn't happen. How dare she get on the stand with no experience, no training, no methodology, no facts, and ignore
No
reality and say
experience,
this couldn't have
no
been a car
training.
collision.
Oh, you're
It's
such
funny
a-
that as a emergency room physician, she considers the basis of mechanics of injury based on what people tell her. They come in and say, I got bit by a dog, or a parent says, my child was bit by a dog. They rely on statements of
We don't know.
witnesses. She didn't rely on statements of witnesses here. I hit him, I hit him. Oh my God, I hit him. Maybe I clipped him. Maybe I hit him in the knee, maybe he dropped his phone, whatever the statements were. All the various statements. An expert like her, she proposes to be, would consider the witness statements to try to determine the cause of mechanical injury. So for her to take the stand respectfully and suggest for a moment that this was not caused by a
Respectfully.
collision to Mr. O'Keefe, not only with any no factual basis, in defiance of actual fact, it's repugnant to the sense of fairness in the courtroom. A witness, just because they have experience as a doctor, doesn't mean they can just come into court and say what they want and then let the government try to counter it. That's not how it works. And so when we consider not only what she doesn't know, but what she chose not to know, it is overwhelming. This is not a qualified person to come in and talk about dog bites. From her perspective, she's probably one, if not a few people in the country can even do this kind of thing, which suggests that there is no real methodology. If she is the only expert in the country, it is not generally accepted in the community. It can't be. It can't be. And as much as the defense may want her to testify to promote this theory, she does not have the credentials and qualifications to do that. She didn't even take the basic steps, as you see in some of the literature, of going to the dog. Chloe, they knew we found Chloe. They know we've done moles. And she says they told her. And she tried to fight with every posturing angle that may be important, but she didn't need to do that. I dare say, if she had taken some steps to try to do due diligence, it wouldn't have ended well for her theory. Perhaps that's why she didn't. She doesn't have the qualifications. She doesn't have the experience. She doesn't have the methodology. Her willingness to tell opinions that are speculative, factually wrong, not based in science and math, should disqualify her from giving another baseless opinion about a so-called dog bite wound. There is no DNA. There is plastic shards in his arm. She has done no due diligence. And she can't describe any methodology because there is none. And she, most importantly, has changed her testimony from hearing to hearing, and we should not let that happen again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Alessi.
Your Honor.
Make it short.
I really dislike Brennan.
Yeah.
The greatest danger to the issues in this case, the greatest danger to a defense right to a jury trial and present its witnesses to have an entire motion supported by nothing but the assertions of an attorney on the other side. That is the greatest danger to our system. That is the greatest danger to a defendant being able to present their case in their view. Remarkably, all of the arguments you just heard now do not come from a medical doctor, which Your Honor has said causation of an injury to a person in Massachusetts must come from a medical doctor. Where is the affidavit? Where is the report of a prosecution witness to support one statement Mr. Brennan just made in 30 minutes? Where is it? It doesn't exist. I would like to start my argument and tell you exactly where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to why we're here and what the issues are for this motion. So I'm going to start my argument with what is the legal standard that Your Honor faces to answer. And I know Your Honor knows it. I'm just doing it for the logic in the presentation. I'm going to go through that. I'm going to identify specific case law of dog wound cases, not paint cases, not others, because it matters. Because Dowling and Lanigan are so flexible and so nuanced, it's got to be the issue before it. Paint cases that Mr. Brennan mentioned are irrelevant. So I'm going to go through cases that speak specifically to dog wounds on humans. Then what I'm going to do is to go through the completely inaccurate statements of Mr. Brennan. He said it, I marked it down 8 times in just his argument alone. There's no methodology. I'm going to go through and say what the methodology she testified to was, where it's rooted, and then I am going to go into why Dr. Russell is actually stronger in December than she was in June. So let me start out with the baseline for this hearing.
Get him.
The January 20th transcript, page 1-4. And if Your Honor will indulge me, it's what Your Honor said, and I'm going to read it verbatim. This was when Dr. Russell was challenged by the prosecution the first time. Line 15. I find that she is a medical doctor. She's an experienced ER doctor, albeit, several years ago since she's worked at that capacity, but that she does have specialized knowledge in that field that may assist the jury in that regard. So if you compare the level of information that Your Honor had at that time to reach the conclusion to what we have presented in this hearing, 11-page single-spaced report. And Your Honor noted before that there wasn't a report, so we wanted to respect that and get a report. Your Honor has sat through testimony, which I'm going to adduce, but not too much because you sat and heard it, and went through her qualifications, and we adduced much more of her qualifications, much more than were adduced when Your Honor first found that finding and made that finding. So let's start with the law. Mr. Brennan and I agree on one thing. The Rotolo case is relevant. But respectfully, Mr. Brennan went off in a tangent, because what does Rotolo stand for that's relevant here? Quote, the crucial issue, in determining whether a witness is qualified to give an expert opinion is whether the witness has sufficient education, training, experience, and familiarity with the subject matter of the testimony. What is the subject matter of the testimony? It's what are the cause of the wounds to the decedent's right arm. I submit that if you ran an artificial intelligence program, you couldn't come up with a more perfect witness for the subject matter of this testimony. Emergency medicine physician, 29 years experience, forensic trained pathologist who has co-authored books on dog bites. She's well-versed in the articles. She is consulted by experts like Dr. Vail that you heard about for these types of issues. The crucial issue of whether she's qualified, to me, is 100% her favorite, and I don't believe you could find another witness more qualified. And that's the crucial inquiry. What's the second prong of the inquiry? After qualifications, is the methodology reliable? That's the second. Whether Mr. Brennan agrees, and 95% of what he argued, that's for cross at trial. But more importantly, that's for a jury to determine. That's the job and province of a jury, to determine whether, assuming Mr. Brennan ever gets a doctor to come in and counter Dr. Russell, it's for a jury to decide which expert do we give more weight to. But the focus of this hearing, why are we here? The second prong is the methodology. Mr. Brennan, 8 times in just this argument now, and he tried it on cross, said there's absolutely no methodology. Your Honor sat and heard the same thing that all of us heard. She went through her own pattern recognition methodology, especially in redirect, but she did it very thoroughly in a report and very thoroughly on direct. She went through what it is. And importantly, counter to what the Commonwealth just said, she says it's rooted in the medical literature. We just heard the statement that there's no support for it. Munich and Pollock. And we walked through, with Your Honor's gracious indulgence, we walked through specific sentences and paragraphs where that pattern recognition methodology is stated. And here's a key. Remember, please, the word pathognomonic. This pattern is so specific that it almost by itself rules out anything else. That's the definition of pathognomonic. And that's the definition. And Dr. Russell used highly characteristic, but she did note and explain what another study said was pathognomonic. It's incredible to me that it can be stated that there's no methodology here and that there's no basis for it. It is generally accepted in the medical community. That's the purpose of the Pollock and the Munich article, is to establish that it is accepted. Dr. Russell is not coming here to the court and just testifying, it's my subjective empirical statement. Mr. Brennan tries to do in his argument exactly what an expert rejected and for which he has no support. And that is to say, we got to look at these wound by wound by wound. And he said 0, 0, 0, 5 times 0 is 0. He tried that on cross. Dr. Russell rejected that resoundingly. She said, you're missing the point. The point is the pattern. You look at these all together, and it's the pattern that matters. And the authors, Pollock and Demunick, say that pattern is pathognomonic. You really don't even have to go to other causes, although Dr. Russell said she did because that's what good, thorough doctors do. So it is incorrect that Dr. Russell didn't explicate a methodology. It's incorrect that she didn't explicate that there's a rooting in the medical community and that it's generally accepted. Now let's go to the cases. Mr. Brennan cited to a paint case, etc., but interestingly, and in contrast, in our papers, which Mr. Brennan has had for almost a month, and he didn't respond, interestingly, we cited to the Lobello case, the Brinker case, both of which are dog wound injury cases, not pain cases. I know a little bit about Lobello because I know a little bit about the firm that sponsored the expert in Lobello. It's my firm, my law firm. And the exact argument that Mr. Brennan just made was expressly rejected by the court on a dog bite case, a dog wound case. Here's what the court said. The court finds that Dr. Sirota qualified as an expert on the presentation. This is on Westlaw page 10. The court finds Dr. Sirota qualified as an expert on the presentation, treatment, and medical sequelae of an attack by a dog. Here's the key. As explained in his expert report, Dr. Sirota has personally repaired thousands of wounds and lacerations, including wounds and lacerations caused by dog bites. And he's authored a number of peer-reviewed articles in the areas of his certification, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there is a dog bite case from the Southern District of New York, not an insignificant court, as recent as 2023, saying a doctor that sees and treats all these, that's reliable. And this was a Dahlberg challenge, Your Honor. This wasn't an incidental question. The challenge was defendant's motion to preclude expert testimony, albeit federal rules of 702, but we know in Massachusetts it's Daubert-Lanigan. You can satisfy Daubert, the federal, but you also Lanigan, and under Davis, you can have generally accepted in the medical community as well. There's one case. Another dog bite case, we cite Brinker, that Mr. Brennan didn't address, is a federal court case in Indiana where same challenge to a doctor about the cause, and it was italicized, the cause of the injury to the person there. And the court basically said in that case that this expert here, and they challenged the causation issue, said that doctors who have experience in treating them, that's enough in and of itself. We don't need to go into, we know Daubert's flexible. You don't have to use all 5 factors. They're called non-exclusive factors for a reason, which is a good segue now to Massachusetts cases. Mr. Brennan's hypothesis is that you can't just have somebody use their years and years of experience. You've got to have something more complicated. We cited the Goodman case, a Massachusetts case, and I'll read the relevant portion. The challenge in that case was to a burn pattern. So it's not a dog bite case. I want to be clear about that, but it's a burn pattern. And here's what the court said. The foundation for Slowick's methodology, that was the expert here, was simplicity itself. Examine the exterior of the facility for external causes, and finding none, examine the interior of the building to locate the origin of the fire by following the burn patterns. And the court put by following the burn patterns in italics, not me. And so the court basically said, here, it's simple. Just look at the patterns. This person has experience with seeing these patterns. Next case we cite, another Massachusetts case, Pasteur. What's the issue there? Not a dog bite case, I've already given you 2, but a firearm examiner in that case. The court said, and I'm going to quote, a judge may also look to his, let's get it correct, her, for this case, own common sense, as well as the depth and quality of the proffered expert's education, training, experience, read on, to determine reliability. All right? So even in situations where courts have repeatedly said, including dog bite cases, if a doctor has repeatedly looked at, treated, etc., they get to testify with regard to whether they believe a wound is caused by whatever. And in the 2 cases I've given you, dogs. So the law is very clear for what the position is of the defense with regard to methodology, and that's what this hearing's about. That's why we're here. Is her methodology reliable? And there is one methodology. There's a pattern methodology. She testified to it. And the Commonwealth has no competent evidence whatsoever to counter that. It's remarkable to me that we're being faced with the challenge to whether the defense could put up a defense and put up a witness when there's no opposition to her methodology from, as your doctor has, or your honor is required, a medical doctor that is required under law in Massachusetts. I also, your honor, want to go to now what the Commonwealth has argued in its papers, which I think further underscores the waywardness of their argument. On page 11 of their papers, the Commonwealth further attempts to criticize, or excuse me, what we said in our papers on page 11, the Commonwealth further attempts to criticize Dr. Russell for being a, quote, trained emergency room physician as opposed to a professional in the field of canine bites or claw marks, veterinary medical science, forensic odontology, or canine behavior. How does that square with your honor's standard that it must be a medical doctor that speaks to the causation of this injury? By definition, a veterinary medical science person is not a medical doctor. A forensic odontologist, most always a dentist, is not a medical doctor. And certainly canine behavior. And why are those words there? Because that describes exactly the expert that the Commonwealth has sat on since the trial of Dr. Cosby. That's him. And in the book that Mr. Brennan attempted to use, Dr. Cosby has written some of those articles, interestingly enough, citing the very articles that Dr. Russell relies upon for the very pattern methodology. So again, the waywardness of the Commonwealth's argument is they're not addressing the need to have a medical doctor. We are not here arguing over whether the dog behaved correctly. We are here to determine, and this is the focus, what is the medical cause of the injuries to the decedent's right arm? And what we have done, perhaps too thoroughly, is we have established the credentials of Dr. Russell, not only with regard to dog bites, but with regard to medical causation, a broader umbrella. And under that umbrella of medical causation is expertise in dog bite wounds, expertise in motor vehicle accidents, but importantly, expertise in wounds caused by motor vehicle accidents. We never presented her as an accident reconstruction because if you need to be a medical doctor to be able to opine on these wounds, I've established through Dr. Russell, and it's unrefuted by the Commonwealth, that Dr. Russell has never heard of someone who's an ER doctor who is an accident reconstructionist. They're two different disciplines. And lastly, on this point, before I move to my next, if an accident reconstructionist is going to come in and try to testify about the nature of wounds, I think I can predict what your honor might do. So in terms of why we are here, it's straightforward.
I like them a lot.
Her credentials are enormous. Her experience is enormous. She has been truthful and honest. Your honor has the notebook for the exhibits for today and can look and see that she did not make inconsistent statements. By way of example, when she said, when it was alleged that she said possibly was in the question, not in her answer. When it was alleged that she didn't answer your question to a medical degree of certainty, we proved that that was wrong with specific language. So on the methodology, this is straightforward. In the law, in the cases I've given you, in Massachusetts, as well as dog bite cases, it is completely accepted for a medical doctor to use their many years of experience in treating these types of wounds, and that's exactly what Dr. Russell did in this case. Now, a very important, in my judgment, your honor, legal point. The Commonwealth has waived its entire motion, and here's how they did it. I asked Dr. Russell what I refer to in these Daubert hearings as the magic question. I said, do you have an opinion on the cause of the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm? Yes, I do. What is that opinion? I believe that those wounds were caused by a dog attack. Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty? I do. The Commonwealth never objected to that question. To me, that's a waiver of the entire issue. If they thought she was unqualified to answer that question, they should have done what Mr. Lally did in the June 21st trial. Because another part I got in the notebook for your honor to see is she never got the opportunity at the June 21 trial to answer the question of whether she had that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty.
And just
Mr. Lally
throwing in there, Lally did the right
your honor
thing.
sustained it and sustained it and sustained it. That's yet another reason why it's not inconsistent, because at the June 21 trial, she never got to answer that question because of the Commonwealth. But back to the waiver. The Commonwealth should have, at that moment in the hearing, objected, but they didn't, and they have waived that objection for this motion. Lastly, I want to just cover what a couple more items that Mr. Brennan had quickly. He kept saying can't be, equally basis, evidence wholly contradicted. Where's the medical profession to support that? Those are Mr. Brennan's opinions. And respectfully, Your Honor, I don't believe that's even for the court in this hearing to decide. That's for the jury to decide. As almost all of these cases go to, the Labello case that I cited, those arguments go to the weight of the testimony. They go to cross-examination. As Your Honor well knows, you're the gatekeeper to see whether Dr. Russell gets to go to the jury, whether you're going to keep that gate open that I believe you very carefully and judiciously decided on June 18th. And I respectfully submit that gate should be much wider open now, given what Your Honor has heard and the basis for it. But even if Your Honor might be inclined to be interested with, maybe even persuaded by some of the things Mr. Brennan said, those have nothing to do to whether there's a methodology or whether it's reliable. Those are easily answered by DeMunick and Pollack. And that's the end of the inquiry. Everything else is beside the point. With regard to the DNA that the Commonwealth has tried to make so much about, there was only one reason why that was brought up. It was brought up because Dr. Russell answered she didn't need to know much about the DNA. Why? Because the pattern of the wounds are so highly characteristic of a dog bite and a dog attack, and because the authors used the word pathognomonic. But because she was careful, she went through a differential diagnosis, but she was consistently honest and forthright. When she didn't know something, she said so. So in terms of this particular matter, and I'll conclude my points at this point and keep to below the 20-minute mark.
30 minutes.
I'm sorry, 30-minute mark. The tremendous importance of a defendant's right, especially in charges of this seriousness, to present a defense, to present a counter argument to the whole theory of the prosecutor's case. Their theory is that a motor vehicle hit the decedent and caused these injuries to the right forearm. The presumption should be the defendant gets the right to present evidence. Now, they don't have an absolute right. You got to satisfy Daubert, but I believe the satisfaction on the crucial inquiry of qualifications and then the methodology and reliability is overwhelming. So, Your Honor, I would urge that Your Honor find that Dr. Russell is qualified. She's qualified as a medical causation witness, which has her able to not only testify at trial with regard to whether those wounds are caused by a dog attack, but also she can testify, and she's qualified to do so, that it's not from a motor vehicle accident. And she's also allowed to testify with regard to her forensic pathology hat, because contrary to the impression of the first in June, she's been doing forensic pathology as recently as her time at Corcoran. And my last point, Your Honor, is this, and it blends in with the point I made earlier about the jury. Shouldn't a jury be able to hear the alternative theory of the defense? Shouldn't the jury have that information so that justice can be served, so that the best decision can be made about whose theory about these injuries is right. We've satisfied beyond my view, respectfully, any reasonable doubt about her qualifications and methodology. Let's let everything else go to the jury and decide, so Ms. Reed can have her fair day in court.
Preach.
Okay. Thank you. We have some scheduling things that we should take care of. There's another motion from the Commonwealth on another Daubert hearing regarding the digital evidence expert.
There is, and also, I don't know if it's documented, but I filed a notice to the court regarding my concerns about ARPA witnesses, and the reason I filed that prior to filing an actual motion is because I appreciate the trial court date. I do not want the defense to be unaware of my intention.
All right. So let's set a date for a Daubert hearing.
They're actually putting it in, huh?
Any idea how long you expect it will take regarding the digital evidence expert?
Wow.
Your Honor, when you say that a Daubert hearing, you don't mean an evidentiary hearing, you mean a hearing on whether or not an evidentiary hearing is required.
So we can do that tomorrow, or we can
Well, I can't-
set
I can't
it,
do it tomorrow.
or, well, then we'll stay now and do that. Are you ready to do that, Mr.
No,
Jeffs?
we just got this on January 31st.
Okay,
We've not had an opportunity to respond
just
to it.
December 31st, probably,
What did I say?
January.
New Year's Eve. We've not had an opportunity to respond to it. We
Okay.
expect to have an opportunity to respond to it.
How long will it take you to respond to it?
Probably a couple of weeks.
All right, so what I want to do, because I want to set some dates, and if we're not going to have a hearing, we'll cancel it. It's easier than getting the motion, deciding that there'll be a hearing, and setting a date, because we're sticking with that April 1st trial date.
I understand that, but the problem with setting a date for a hearing and an evidentiary hearing requires us to bring someone in from out of state.
You know, so what I'm saying is, file your paperwork,
Okay,
all right? We'll set a date for a hearing.
okay.
We'll set an evidentiary hearing date. I just want to lock those in. I'm trying to do them
Okay,
on Mondays or
that's fine.
Fridays for you,
Understood.
thinking that it would be better for your schedule if we tried to accommodate that. But we've got a full session, so,
Mr. Brennan and I talked briefly, I don't want to speak for him, but we talked briefly about the January 27th date. I think all council have that date cleared because it was a trial date at one point in
Right.
our history. So what about the 27th for the motion on Mr. Brennan's Daubert request?
on
Then-
all witnesses, not just, that you said you're filing,
The only one he's got is for Rick Green.
what did you file a notice of, you said today?
Notice that I expect that I will likely be including the ARPA witness suspect failure to comply with Rule 14. It's not a Daubert hearing,
Okay,
it's compliance with Rule 14.
okay, so that's different.
Yes, I am waiting for a response from the United States Attorney's Office that I'm supposed to expect next week.
Okay,
If that changes my position, I'll notify the defense in the court. If it doesn't, then I'm going to pursue that motion.
okay.
Aaron, may we be seen briefly at 10 about
Sure.
scheduling?
So now we're having another Daubert hearing on Green, who is clearly
That's the
also
older
qualified to
Parker
be
guy,
an
right?
expert. Again, Bev should throw that out. There's no reason to have a Daubert hearing with his CV. He has more than 1,500 cases, more than 1,500 times in court as an expert. It's absolutely ridiculous that
I can't believe she's even entertaining it. That's crazy.
Can defense ask for a Daubert on the Commonwealth expert? No, because they're police officers. They have. The funny thing is, when a police officer will testify that they smelled weed in your car, they did it based on their expertise and belief. Exactly the same thing that they claim Dr. Russell can't use as an expert. Funny thing how it's okay when they do it, but it's not okay when you do it. As someone said, if Karen Reed had Googled Huss Long to die in the cold at 2:27. Selbright would have been absolutely accurate, and she would have clearly done it, and it was proof of her guilt. But because it's Jen McCabe, nah, probably not. Maybe. Will there be a hearing on the ARCA guys? He didn't file a motion to have them excluded. He filed a motion to potentially have them excluded if he couldn't get insights into their work history, because he claims that it's too convoluted to find out who they work for or their employment status, which is absolutely bonkers. But again, it's the Ken Reed trial.
I would expect nothing less at this point, if I'm being honest.
It's this is dumb. That attorney had some hunk in his geese flock.
Yeah, I like him.
I don't know what a hunk in a geese flock means, but if Valhalla says it's okay, I'll believe him.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Come on. Got some goat in his horniness.
I'm not sure if I like that one, actually. Oh, that would be funny. Brennan trying to be a jerk to the ARCA guys. They're way too smart to let him get away with it, I think. Yeah, I don't think challenging Marissa, I don't think challenging Dr. Russell's credibility in front of the jury would go well.
And again, it's not the judge who has to. She just have to see, is she an expert? And we have seen expert being qualified by almost just did you ever see a bird in flight? Yeah, you're an expert in birdology. That's you don't need anything to be qualified as an expert. That we spent 2 days qualifying a clearly qualified lady just shows how desperate the state is.
Well,
Iris, they are looking at dates. If Trooper Paul can be an expert, then she should be without issue. But you know how it is. He's a police officer, so he is automatically an expert.
I've never seen a police officer so bad on the stand.
No, he was horrible. Didn't know anything about.
31st will be oral argument at 9 a.m. And if there's an evidentiary hearing, it will be conducted on February 6th. We'll block off the day. And February 7th, and we'll also hear the ARCA motion if there's something on that. So we'll go for the 6th, but we'll leave time if it carries over, so we don't have what happened with Dr. Russell, such a big gap.
So the 31st and the 6th.
All right, we'll see everybody then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Autumn, the woman in the glasses, is John O'Keefe's mother. That's Mrs. O'Keefe.
Yeah. She looks. She looks. No, I can't say that. That's another word we say in Denmark.
Moving on.
Yeah. They're so desperate. You could hear it in his voice. I have never seen a county so desperate to hold an innocent woman a person to account for something that did not happen. No car accident. Yeah, and you can trust the FBI agent that never testified that they didn't see a dog bite. That we haven't seen the report. It must be in the 3,600 pages. but you can't trust the FBI guys who said he wasn't hit by a car. It's that constant duality where you can trust my right hand, but you can't trust my left. But
Yeah, we call it lying here.
yeah, that's
The constant lying. That's what we call it here.
it's just too much BS. I'm sorry to say, because she's clearly qualified. No one can disagree. This lady is more than qualified to do what she did. Maybe it's a stretch that they want her to testify about the accident as well, and the forensics. I don't know, but either way, she will be qualified for all of that as well. So I just find it's BS what they're doing. It's clearly.
It's dirty. It's grimy. It's gross. Everything about it's gross.
Auntie Bev is going to the bar, boys and girls.
No kidding. She's late for her reservation. She's upset about it.
Nope, Zach. Nope. Yeah, I think she has a bar in her chambers as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
Hey, Direxie.
Hey, Direxie.
But another day wasting money for Karen Reed. They did what they wanted to do. We're back to 31st. Hopefully, we'll have some rulings on some of the motions before that, because there's a lot out there. The defense haven't filed any motions, and someone said, well, they mustn't believe in their case. They don't need to file motions because they did that in the first trial, and their facts hasn't changed. Unless Brennan brings in new expert that testifies about something, that's when the defense should file motions. I should work for the state.
Holy crap.
That's yeah. Yeah, but to be honest, I think that the defense should leave that third-party culprit defense. They should spend all their time. All the time.
It wasn't a car accident. Sorry. Sir, go.
Yeah, all the time should just be spent on no car hit John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe didn't hit a car.
Yeah. They can prove that there wasn't a car accident. They don't have to prove that, Brian Albert did it.
Yeah, she's something special.
She really is.
But I'll be looking out to see if there's anything we can cover tomorrow other than that, because I know there's a trial starting Monday, perhaps, if it's televised in Chattanooga. So might cover that. Other than that, it's a slow week. Everything has to get back and everything opens up. There were 2 trials set to start jury selection yesterday, and then one of them pled no contest. So that ruined that plan. I'm not presiding over a death case. No.
Well, that's good.
And as long as it's 4 o'clock, so she should be allowed to be a little wasted.
Lucky. I think I'm probably going to stream from the barn tonight.
You should.
I think I might. Might do that again.
Nick Rocker said he's fixing to release more documents. Ooh. Does he have access to anything? Or every time I hear someone is releasing something, I get a little worried. You might know a certain person who had special insights and told us Proctor was fired 2 months ago. The same Proctor who's having a hearing if he's going to be fired. So I want to see what's in him, and I want to see that they have all the right stamps before I'll vouch for them. You have to ask at the doctor's.
Bring some earbuds. We'll keep you company while you're waiting in the little room. Damn it, Zach. Well, I guess until the 31st, huh?
Yeah, well, I'll find something before that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but for this.
Now we can't even get a release in chat. Bring on the whiskey. Well, I already drank my whiskey, so get it on. The rest of you, go out there, find something interesting to do with the rest of your day. Enjoy life, because now you don't have to listen to Brenna anymore, and I will enjoy hitting my sack, even though it's later than the time I was going for. If I get out of bed, there might be a night stream tonight, but I won't promise anything, so I won't set it one up, but it depends on if I can get out of bed in time. But I haven't slept that well the last couple of days. It's been storming. So, yeah, that's what I understood. 31st is the green.
That's
or maybe,
what it sounded like,
yeah. But if I get out of bed in time, I'll do a night stream, but I won't promise anything. And Valhalla might do a goat stream, and he will promise everything.
Thanks, buddy.
Because
appreciate you.
I would do anything for love,
but I won't do that.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No.
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
No.
Did you believe he slept with your mother?